Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It is so lovely to have you here at the Good Place Collective. This is a place where we connect, educate, and collaborate. My name is Lindsay Kuzi, and I am a co-founder of the Good Place Collective. We have a special guest for you here today, and I would also like to introduce my business partner, the Sarah Brown.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Lindsay, for that awesome introduction. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Good Place Collective, where we are building a safe community of health and wellness practitioners and their clients by opening avenues for communication, education, and self-advocacy. Very excited, as Lindsay said, as we do have a special guest. I don't want to say guest. We have a Good Place Collective member with us this morning. Amazing Kim Castle, counselor extraordinaire and awesome gal. Kim, so happy that you're here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. But me too. I know it's going to be great. Kim, why don't we just jump right into it and have you share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what it is that you're doing?
For sure. A little bit of a snapshot of me. I am a registered counselor. I own a practice in the downtown part of Kelowna, and I've been practicing now for just over 3 years. And I work with anybody between the ages of 5, 6 years old, all the way up to 80 years old. And I love what I do. I'm super excited about sharing
a little bit more about it. That's so great. Awesome. You know, Lindsay knows this, I love counseling. I think it's an incredible support for so many people. And I love that that's what you're doing. You obviously work with, as you said, people of all ages, really. But, what is something that, might be going on for someone that might make them want to book an appointment with you? Let's start there.
Honestly, it's gonna really depend on their age and what's going on in their life. If you think about it in terms of working with children, oftentimes it's the parents that's bringing the child in for support. They're noticing something. Other times, as you get older, then there's people that are kind of questioning this doesn't really feel effective in my life, or I feel like I'm stuck somewhere. And then other times it's a bit more kind of on the end of the spectrum of life feels really heavy and hard, and like it's hard to get up and it's hard to move and it's hard to make decisions and things like that. So there's really a wide range, but ultimately I often find myself reverting back to the question of, why do I do what I do? Right? Like, why do I think the way I think? Why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I acting the way I'm acting or not? Right? And is it effective in getting me where I want to go? And oftentimes that's the point that people get stuck on, is I don't know where I want to go. I don't know what I want in life, right? I can tell you really clearly what I don't want, but what do I want? And then why do I not feel deserving of having those wants, right? So I find myself, I guess to put it like in the sense of helping you understand where does this pattern come from? Where does this fundamental belief come from? And why am I operating out of it, right? What's the narrative behind it? And is it effective right now in my life? Do I need that narrative right now, kind of thing?
That's really powerful and beautiful. And I love that you just kind of pose those questions, and I can appreciate and can relate to feeling stuck, right? Mm-hmm. And we can ask ourselves some questions, but we kind of get caught up in a loop, right? Or we just start going through the motions of the day and the grind, I'll call it, because it doesn't feel easy. And I love that you are supporting and asking some of those questions where it's like, don't get caught up on why, but like, what do you want to see? What do you want to feel? And I think sometimes that's a big piece. Like, what do you want to feel when you wake up? And what do you want to feel when you're bringing some passion into your life and when you're going to work, or those kinds of things? And I really appreciate you sharing that, Kim, because it's all in how we frame things, right? It's a perspective.
Absolutely. Because we're all ultimately filtering it through our own lens, right? All of our experiences and all of like life events and beliefs that just, you get to a point in your life and you're like, wow, that doesn't really serve me anymore. And yet I'm still looking through that lens, right? Which is getting me ultimately the same thing as before and what I potentially don't want, right? So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really great point. Kim, can you tell us a little bit about, maybe a little bit about your background in terms of how, because, I'm a big advocate for people, getting counseling and support, but, sometimes it's a bit of a cliche, but sometimes I get responses from people, that maybe don't, aren't ready to do that or are nervous about it. And often they're kind of like, well, how is someone supposed to be able to see through my lens? How is someone able to look through the lens that, you know, that is probably very different to theirs and help me?
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of curious how you would maybe navigate or answer that type of a question.
So, honestly, oftentimes for me, it comes back to because there's often clients that come into my office and they're like convinced that, no, I'm fine and this is what I'm doing and it's great and so on. And then I shift into okay, well, why are you here? Right? If you're sitting in my office, what's not working for you? What is preventing you from getting you what you want, kind of thing? And to be able to ask yourself that question prior to coming into my office is sometimes really hard. And it's kind of this like, oh, the mirror's in front of me and I'm like, oh, I can just choose to not look at it, kind of thing, right? But am I content? Am I like, do I find joy in my relationships and life? And am I ultimately gaining value from how I'm operating in the world, right? And oftentimes people have this like I have to have had like this big event to go to counseling, right? Or something quote unquote bad has happened to me and therefore I have to come to counseling. And really at the end of the day, it's just an opportunity for you to look in the mirror and see, okay, this feels good and this doesn't feel good. Or, you know what, I'm getting a lot of what I don't want and this is what I do want. Right. Or I'm not sure what I do want, right? So for me, it's really just this like safe space to explore. And not from like a good, bad, right or wrong perspective, but just from an effective or ineffective perspective.
I love that.
I love that.
Curious, just being curious, right? Just curious. I think that's a really big point. That's, you know, and that's often what I'll share with people is maybe just be curious about like what, exactly. Like you say, what's going on. It's funny that you shared earlier, you know, like it's so easy to know what you don't want. I mean, Lindsay, I know maybe got this tip from Kim or you're just that intuitive. I don't know. But I remember not that long ago, I was sharing with Lindsay that I was feeling really stuck and I don't know what I want with this. And I don't know what I want with that. And she just looked at me and went, well, what don't you want? Because you probably know what you don't want. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It's really, you know, I think these questions, I'm so glad we're talking about these questions because anybody watching, you know, these are the types of questions that, like you say, it's hard to ask yourself, but maybe start thinking about to maybe navigate and figure out, oh, that might be why I might need some support and some help.
Yeah. I mean, as a human, we hold a lot of self-judgment, right? And so even to just like, pause that for just a fraction out of the day and just like expand into curiosity. Like, I wonder what, right? And then it poses the question for me of like, can I allow myself to receive more than what I currently have? Not like over here, but just more from what I currently have, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You have a really cool story, and I'm wondering if you could share a little bit of it while we have a little bit of time, just so people can understand. Because like you said, you've been practicing now for 3 years. People might be wondering what you did before that, or, you know, how you got into counseling. And I'd love if you could just share a little bit about that.
For sure. Really quick snapshot. Originally grew up in Montreal, fluently bilingual, moved out here when I was 18, met my husband a month later. And then I slipped into childcare. So I had done my training in Montreal and then anyways, wasn't transferable here, whatever. I went back to school and then I opened a bilingual preschool and I had a preschool for 11 years. And I loved working with children, 3 to 5 year olds. You really kind of get in tune with the authentic inner child part of yourself. And I really enjoyed that. And then I had my own children and I was feeling really exhausted. And I was kind of, the trade-off for me was working with children and not really being present with my own children. And so I ultimately closed that a few years back. And then how I entered into counseling is I was looking for an online opportunity to, my husband and I had have a construction company, and I was just looking to kind of have some side income. And through this online space, there was a lot of personal development. And I went to this course in Vegas, of all places. And in those 3 days, there was a really big pivotal shift for me around, I'm not happy. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm utilizing, like I don't feel like I'm learning anything and giving back. It was really feeling like this, you know, And sure, don't get me wrong, I love my kids and I felt really great in providing for them and so on, but there was just this next level of, okay, what's after that? And my kids were going into school soon and so on. So anyways, just to bring everything together, backtrack to about almost 13 years ago now, my husband lost his brother abruptly 2 months after our first child was born. And that really took us for a whirlwind. And from that, we kind of got stuck for quite a few years. And then we shifted into this personal development, and then we both went to therapy. And then all of a sudden we were like, there's light over here. There's like growth, there's acknowledgement, there's care, there's attention. And it just shifted everything for us. And at one point I was at my counselor and he looked at me and he says, why aren't you doing this? And I thought, oh my gosh, I never put two and two together. It was just this really, I love coming here, but not for me kind of thing. And anyways, fast forward, I went through, my husband and I did 2 more personal development courses, one in New Mexico and one in North Carolina, somewhere in the States. And lots about leadership, lots about really kind of aligning your values into passion and work and environment and relationships. And then I went back to school and I absolutely fell in love with it. And my highest values are learning, communication, and relationships. And so I put everything together and I was like, oh, this feels good. So I initially got into counseling to work with couples. And don't get me wrong, I still work with couples and they're great. Sometimes there's just it's one extra person, one extra dynamic, and it's really sometimes it brings up my stuff, right? And so sometimes it feels like, ooh, this feels really slippery kind of thing, right? But ultimately it's been an amazing, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, when I signed up for this, I didn't think that I signed up to work on my own stuff, right? There's lots of mirrors, we're mirrors for each other all day long. And it feels really good to be able to hold space for somebody else and also acknowledge my own stuff. So
so beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I know your story, both Lindsay and I do, and it's important. I wanted you to share it because I think, it's helpful and relatable for people to recognize that you've been there too. And, you went through, what maybe they're considering going through. And just, it's such a powerful story. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Kim, it's just such a delight having you here and speaking with you and hearing more about you and just how dynamic you are, working with children and having so much joy and ease with that. And, and just being so open and vulnerable to share just even, the part and piece with your relationship and your husband and having that family union and having to work together to build that up and continue to work on that and being open to continuously having that mirror, right? Continuously working on yourself. And I appreciate all of our conversations because you always share some helpful tidbits. You're always reading great books. And I just love knowing what you're up to and how you're continuing to sharpen your saw, right? And stay just very present and very curious, like you had mentioned before. So thank you for sharing yourself. Just so heart forward. And I really, really am just so honored to have you here and a part of the Good Place Collective. It's a real delight.
Sure. Agreed. Well said, Lindsay. So I hope everyone's enjoyed getting to know Kim a little bit better. Thanks again, Kim. And we hope everybody out there is having a great day.
Sure. Take care.